Oh, thank you. Uh, Welcome to my very first live. Well, not my very first live, but one of the first lives we're having with our new format. My name is Richard Jones, RN. I think you're seeing me on Second Starts, and I'm not 100% sure which Facebook channel we are on right now, Essential Change or Parenting Your Child in Recovery. Regardless of what, I'm just doing this test live. So if anybody does happen to stop by, basically we're going over the one sheet. This one sheet was done in a 5-minute video, and we're sending it out to our contacts, some specific contacts, people that are working with us as referral sources. And then we're just going to be sending it out to uh, clergy, medical people, and everything related to the Second Stars program, parenting your child in recovery. And really want to do right now is just go over some of the practice things that I did in the for the one sheet. So I hope we got good sound here. As a matter of fact, we do not have good sound. Let's work on that. Let's work on the sound live. Perfect. Yes, we're not afraid to do anything. And could we work on this while we're live? Testing one, two, three. Maybe we can, maybe we can't. All right. So hopefully that test, we'll see how that works out. We'll be able to watch this again. So, okay, regardless, we're starting out now. Parenting your child in recovery. The first thing we wanted to stress in the video was that is main reason for parenting your child in recovery, three things. And in this order, actually, prevent, manage, and eliminate relapse. The whole emphasis of this program is to create a much more unlikely scenario of the ordinary relapse. And we use the Second Starts program ideals and the parenting your child in recovery ideals to make sure that that is how we handle this. So we started off the value short, we're going to call it. We call it the value short. We started off that value short by talking about who exactly are we speaking to. Uh, Usually parents, because those are usually the ones who feel the biggest burden when a young adult is in trouble in a recovery situation. So most of the time, parents will be headed this mentors, people that care, family, friends, um, anyone who could possibly be involved in that and has some involvement in that young adult's life, and really believe that they have a positive change ability, we'll call it. So, young adults, in my opinion, for this value short, we are basically calling one adults around the ages of 17 to 24. It's not a hold fast as far as the program goes, but that's usually where we find what we call young adults in this situation. Uh, the important part I wanted to bring up was obstacles versus potential, because a lot of times it's very easy for us to see what the individual's obstacles are. You know, a lot of times that prejudices us against them because we feel like their obstacles are too great. We see and we think that that obstacle for that person, if it had been us, or we've seen so many other people in that situation, and the outcome isn't very well. So a lot of times we tend to focus on the obstacles. Um, in the Second Starts Parenting Your Child in Recovery, we do not focus on the obstacles, but we remain extremely well aware of them. But we make a point to let everyone understand that the obstacle is just something to get by and get over. And that's pretty much all it is. And obstacle versus potential. Well, what I mean by that is that regardless of the obstacle is, you see that individual, you see that young person, and you know for a fact in your heart, in your mind, whatever your situation is with that young person, that they have the potential to do well. You can't explain why the obstacles are holding them down. Sometimes they're easy to explain, sometimes not so easy to explain. But you understand that they do have the potential to do well if we could find it and dig it out of there. And that's what our program is basically for. So in this one sheet, we're talking a lot about that. We want to talk a lot about that it's a critical life-saving event. And what I wanted to say about that was that in Second Starts and in our program's uh, opinion, this is not taken seriously enough. A lot of times with specific families, when it specifically hits home, it's not taken seriously enough. A lot of times families assume that it's going to happen, have had it happen to a previous child, have seen it happen in the neighborhood. Um, they are taught to believe that it's something that you have to go through. They're taught to believe that it's not that dangerous and we can overlook it. Well, it is quite dangerous, and people die from substance abuse issues every day. So this is a critical life-saving event, and this is one. If we don't really get too many other points across, we want to get that point across that this is a life-saving event. So we want that very clear. We want to talk about some of the things that. Let me see. Do I have time on here? No, the end stream doesn't go with time. Okay, that's all right. M stream does go. Yes, it does. 617. Okay, good. We want to talk about a few things. Fear. First of all, when adults or mentors fear for a young person, that is a lot of confusion because usually the first thing you think of is the worst thing, which we believe that you should think of the worst thing, unfortunately, but we do believe you should think of it, the spur on action. But a lot of times fear goes hand in hand with frustration and anger. In other words, we find that the very times when they're not in fear, they're usually in anger. That's usually the only thing that relieves the fear is anger. And that's a bad situation to be in when the only thing that can relieve the fear is anger. But that's usually what we see in these situations. Okay. We want to talk about stress. The stress of this situation, having a young adult in a recovery situation and fearing relapse, because that's basically what you're fearing relapse, is that stress permeates through every other aspect of your life. And it multiplies the weight that you carry with everything. Even at times when you think you're not thinking about it, that weight is adding on to the rest of the stresses of your life and causing, helping to make your life a lot less manageable. So we want to understand that we need to manage and worry about the stress. Forgive me from adjusting my eyes, but the one sheet is a little small. Relationships, very important relationships, especially between spouses, close family members. The relationship between parents and the other children are usually very heavily affected. And this can sometimes be a long-term effect because what will happen is the priorities will be, because of that stress of that situation, priorities will be shifted around. Family priorities, positioning in the family, activities that the family used to do, things are all altered now. Um, Financial resources shifted around and moved around. Um, a lot of times, the attention that a younger or a different one of the siblings deserves will not be given because of the situation. And this causes a long-term effect to this. So we want to really bring that point home that there's a long-term effect to all those things. Uh, Money, very important. The system that we have, and I want to be clear, as a registered nurse, I am not fundamentally against the system, although I do believe that the system is faulty in so many ways, especially working in the system. But when you're in the system, it's hard to tell exactly which ways you can fix the system. So fixing the system may not be the answer so much as getting everything you can from the system and maximizing what it can do for you, and then knowing what to do to augment what you have with the system. And to me, that's parenting your child in recovery. That's one of our premises, augmenting what the system offers and maximizing what the system offers. It's very difficult to get in and change the system, make the system right, but it does have good points and you can maximize and use them. And we think that's the key to a relapse-proof recovery. Again, why are we having so much trouble with the system? Well, let's talk about, I put on the one sheet a 20% success rate. That's just a number when you dig around and figure out with your eyeballs working in substance abuse, you believe it's less than that. Reading materials, it's probably around there. It's very difficult to realize because a relapse-proof recovery is a long-term situation. And the only way we can actually fix long-term situations is to fix them at their root. And that is what we want to talk about here, fixing those situations at the root. So the problem, one of the reasons why we have a problem with the recovery rates is because the system, the model is basically a relapse model. It basically prescribes talking more about the situation, meaning what needs to be recovered from, spending more time talking about it and educating it, therefore keeping it in mind's eye, keeping it in front, okay? And then really giving excuses about why a total transformation cannot be achieved, as if letting them down easy beforehand is a better idea than actually shooting for a complete recovery. That part I do not understand. I think we should be a lot more aggressive about the complete recovery, because in this age group, it is not so much about being hard and fast and to doing the substance, but it's more about not knowing in which direction to move forward and not having a priority, not feeling a priority to move in that direction. People will not stop doing something, but they will start doing another thing. And once you use that, change that focus. And one of the, as a matter of fact, in the podcast, we have a podcast also called Parenting Your Child in Recovery. One of the next podcasts we're going to do is about what we're going to call a single-minded, dogged pursuit of persistent direction. And that's going to be the essence of the podcast. How can we infuse a simple, single-minded, dogged pursuit of dogged, persistent pursuit of a specific direction? If we can get that out right properly. A single-minded, dogged pursuit of a persistent direction. And that's what we really want to foster. So one of the other reasons is because rehabs and facilities don't usually do that. They usually hedge on their education. They hedge on understanding that relapse is part of recovery, which I see that, and it makes me mad. Relapse is not a part of recovery. It can be, and it has sometime, but it is not originally. Before you start, it definitely shouldn't be. You should not be discussing relapse in the beginning of a recovery situation. You should be discussing transformation, undisputable transformation, and that's what should be discussed. So, well, let's move on then. Hey, how can we do this? I want to talk about basically three things that we can do. This, again, the second starts model, parenting your child in recovery model, is do three things simultaneously with aggression. First of all is treatment awareness or treatment comprehension. And basically what that is taking everything that is currently being used, whatever systems you're using at this time, whether it be a rehab, whether it be specific counseling, whatever you're doing, medical attention, all of that, should make sure that the absorption of that is enhanced. And the best way to do that is to identify and isolate the distractions that are involved. And if you can do that, that will greatly increase by percentage your ability to take in, use, digest the information given to you by the current programs that you have. So that's basically what treatment awareness is, okay? Not really trying to add on any new information, but make sure that the information that you have available, you're being aware of and you're being able to use properly. The second one is one of the biggest ones with us is enhancing the support network. The support network is not being used properly. Support network is basically an arm of guilt and shame, or made up of people that the individual young person does not really care about and has no interest in. So what we want to do is we are reimagine and rebuild a new support network, okay? And we take the support work and meld together with what we call a high level accountability. This may sound rough and tumble, but it really isn't. All high-level accountability means is that we're very specific about what is being held to account. Excuse my cough. Very specific about what's being held to account, and emphasizing what's being held to account, and giving more power to what's being held to account, and directing the mindset, the actions toward being what is held into account. High-level accountability. Okay, when we do that, we squeeze out opportunities for, losing distraction and moving on towards areas which are not beneficial physically, mentally to the young adult. So we reimagine and reconfigure that support network to get off of the guilt shame model and move toward high level accountability, high level, specific level accountability. Okay. And the last area we want to talk about is we want to actually set our minds to a system that excuse my cough again. High level accountability and very specific transformation. So this is going to be all we're going to do for live because this was a test. So we will be back on a few days next week to get this straight. So thank you if you joined. Thank you.